According to the National Electrical Code, refrigerators and freezers are not required to be protected by ground fault circuit interrupters or GFCIs. This exemption is based on the fact that these appliances are typically double insulated and do not pose a significant risk of electrical shock. However, the NEC does provide an exception that allows for GFCI protection of refrigerators and freezers that are connected to a single outlet. This exception is intended to provide additional protection in areas where water may be present, such as garages or laundry rooms. Given the potential for water damage in a garage, it is generally recommended to use a GFCI protected outlet for a freezer. This will provide an additional layer of protection against electrical shock in the event of a fault. If the freezer is full, it is important to consider the following. Firstly, power loss. A GFCI can trip during a power outage, so make sure there is a backup plan for preserving its contents in the event of a power failure. Secondly, time to refreeze. If the freezer remains unpowered for an extended period, the contents may begin to defrost, and it is essential to refreeze them as soon as possible to prevent spoilage. In addition to using a GFCI protected outlet, it is important to take other safety measures with the freezer in the garage. Keep the freezer away from flammable materials. Do not overload the freezer. Clean the condenser coils regularly. Unplug the freezer before performing any maintenance or repairs. By following these recommendations, you can help ensure the safety and reliability of a freezer in a garage. Now let's elaborate more on the technical aspects. Ground fault circuit interrupters, or GFCIs, are designed to protect people from electrical shock. They work by monitoring the current flowing in a circuit. If there is a difference of as little as 5 mA between the outgoing and returning current, the GFCI will trip, cutting off the power to the circuit in a fraction of a second. This can prevent serious injury or even death. The NEC provides specific guidelines for GFCI protection in various locations. Generally, GFCIs are required in areas where there is a high risk of electric shock, such as bathrooms, kitchens, and outdoor locations. However, as mentioned earlier, freezers and refrigerators have an exception. The reason for this exception is that these appliances are typically designed with safety in mind. They are usually double insulated, meaning that there are 2 layers of insulation between the electrical components and the user. This reduces the risk of electric shock, even if there is a fault in the appliance. While the NEC does not require GFCI protection for freezers and refrigerators, it is still a good idea to consider it, especially in certain situations. For example, if the freezer is located in a damp or wet area, such as a garage or basement, GFCI protection can provide an extra layer of safety. In these cases, the exception for single outlets comes into play. If the freezer is connected to a single, dedicated outlet, it can be GFCI protected. This means that only the freezer is affected if the GFCI trips, minimizing the risk of losing power to other important appliances. When deciding whether to use GFCI protection for a freezer, it is also important to consider the potential consequences of a power outage. If the freezer is full of food, especially meat, a prolonged power outage can lead to spoilage. In some cases, it may be better to risk a potential electric shock than to lose a large quantity of food. To mitigate the risk of power loss due to a GFCI trip, you can take a few precautions. Firstly, make sure that the GFCI is properly installed and tested. Secondly, consider using a GFCI with a higher trip threshold. Standard GFCIs trip at 5 mA, but there are models available that trip at 30 mA. These may be less likely to trip due to minor electrical fluctuations. Thirdly, have a backup plan in place in case of a power outage. This could include a generator or a portable power station. In addition to GFCI protection, there are other safety measures that you can take to protect yourself from electric shock when using a freezer. Always unplug the freezer before performing any maintenance or repairs. Do not use extension cords unless absolutely necessary. If you must use an extension cord, make sure it is properly rated for the appliance. Keep the area around the freezer clean and dry. Do not allow water to accumulate near the freezer. If you suspect that there is a problem with the freezer, such as a frayed cord or a malfunctioning switch, have it repaired by a qualified electrician. The NEC is updated regularly to reflect changes in technology and safety standards. It is important to stay up to date on the latest requirements to ensure that your electrical system is safe and compliant. To find the most current information, you can consult the NEC handbook or visit the National Fire Protection Association website. Local jurisdictions may also have their own electrical codes, which may be more stringent than the NEC. It is important to check with your local building department to determine the applicable codes in your area. When installing a GFCI outlet, it is important to follow the manufacturer's instructions carefully. The outlet should be properly grounded and wired according to the NEC. If you are not comfortable working with electricity, it is best to hire a qualified electrician to do the job. A qualified electrician will have the knowledge and experience to install the GFCI outlet safely and correctly. They can also inspect your electrical system to ensure that it is up to code and in good working order. When choosing a GFCI outlet, it is important to select one that is rated for the environment in which it will be used. For example, if the outlet is located outdoors, it should be weather resistant. There are also tamper-resistant GFCI outlets available, which are designed to prevent children from inserting objects into the slots. These are a good choice for homes with young children. Another important consideration is the amperage rating of the GFCI outlet. The outlet should be rated to handle the maximum current that the freezer will draw. If the outlet is not properly rated, it could overheat and cause a fire. In general, it is best to choose an outlet with a higher amperage rating than you think you need. This will provide a safety margin and ensure that the outlet can handle any unexpected surges in current. The NEC also addresses the proper wiring methods for electrical circuits. All wiring should be properly sized and insulated to prevent overheating and electrical shock. The NEC specifies the types of wiring that are allowed in different locations. For example, in damp or wet locations such as garages and basements, only certain types of wiring are permitted. These types of wiring are designed to resist moisture and corrosion. All electrical connections should be made in approved junction boxes. Junction boxes protect the connections from damage and prevent accidental contact with live wires. The junction boxes should be properly grounded to provide an additional layer of safety. The NEC also specifies the requirements for grounding electrical systems. Grounding is the process of connecting the electrical system to the earth. This provides a path for fault current to flow back to the source, which can trip a circuit breaker or GFCI and prevent electrical shock. All electrical equipment should be properly grounded, including freezers and refrigerators. The grounding conductor should be sized according to the NEC and connected to a grounding electrode, such as a ground rod or a metal water pipe. The NEC also addresses the use of surge protectors. Surge protectors are devices that protect electrical equipment from voltage spikes. Voltage spikes can damage sensitive electronic components and cause equipment failure. Surge protectors are especially important for protecting computers, televisions, and other electronic devices. The NEC does not require the use of surge protectors, but they are highly recommended. Surge protectors are available in a variety of types and sizes. Some surge protectors are designed to protect an entire electrical panel, while others are designed to protect individual appliances. When choosing a surge protector, it is important to select one that is rated for the voltage and current of the electrical system. The NEC also addresses the proper use of extension cords. Extension cords should only be used for temporary connections. They should not be used as a substitute for permanent wiring. When using an extension cord, it is important to choose one that is properly rated for the appliance. The extension cord should be long enough to reach the outlet without being stretched or strained. The extension cord should also be kept out of the way of foot traffic to prevent tripping hazards. The NEC also addresses the dangers of overloading electrical circuits. Overloading a circuit can cause the wires to overheat and start a fire. To prevent overloading a circuit, it is important to know the amperage rating of the circuit. The amperage rating is typically marked on the circuit breaker or fuse. The The total amperage of all the appliances and lights on the circuit should not exceed the amperage rating of the circuit. If you are unsure of the amperage rating of a circuit, it is best to consult with a qualified electrician. The NEC also addresses the importance of regular electrical inspections. Regular electrical inspections can help to identify potential problems before they become serious hazards. Electrical inspections should be performed by a qualified electrician. The electrician will inspect the wiring, outlets, and other electrical components to ensure that they are in good working order. The electrician will also check for any signs of damage or wear. If any problems are found, the electrician will recommend the necessary repairs. The NEC is a complex and comprehensive document. It is important to consult with a qualified electrician to ensure that your electrical system is safe and compliant. A qualified electrician can help you to understand the NEC requirements and to make the necessary changes to your electrical system. In summary, while the NEC provides an exemption for GFCI protection for freezers and refrigerators, it is still a good idea to consider it, especially in damp or wet locations. If you do choose to use GFCI protection, be sure to take precautions to prevent power outages and have a backup plan in place. In addition, be sure to follow all other safety guidelines such as unplugging the freezer before performing any maintenance or repairs, and keeping the area around the freezer clean and dry. By following these recommendations, you can help to ensure the safety and reliability of your freezer. Remember to always consult the latest edition of the NEC and local electrical codes for the most up-to-date requirements. Also, when in doubt, consult a qualified electrician for assistance.